The transport ship landed slowly on the rocky surface of the Thaleri homeworld. Corporal Ethan Ross stood near the exit ramp, watching the dust rise around the ship. The air was dry and smelled strange, full of minerals and life that was not from Earth. Ethan was nervous. He had trained for this mission for months, but now that he was here, everything felt more real and more serious. Ethan was a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life. The human government had sent him to live with the Thaleri, a race of insect-like beings, to learn about their ways. He was chosen because he was calm, smart, and good at learning new cultures. He had read everything there was to know about the Thaleri, but reading was not the same as living with them. A group of Thaleri came to greet him. They stood tall on 4 legs and had strong upper bodies with long arms. Their skin was like smooth armor, shining green and brown under the sun. Their large black eyes did not blink. Ethan saw one of them step forward. She wore a red cloth across her chest and a necklace made of bones. "Welcome, human," she said in a soft but deep voice. Her English was clear. "I am Jareen. This is my nest. You will stay here." Ethan gave a small bow. "Thank you, Jareen. I am honored to be here." Jareen nodded and turned. The others followed, and Ethan walked behind them, carrying a light pack. The nest was not far from the landing site. It looked like a large dome made from stone and thick plant roots. It had many tunnels and openings, like a giant ant hill. Inside, it was cooler. The walls had carvings and patterns that glowed with soft light. Jareen showed Ethan a small chamber near the center of the nest. It had a flat bed made of soft moss and a place to store his things. She placed her clawed hand on the wall. "This is your space," she said. "You are safe here. No one will enter unless invited." Ethan smiled. "Thank you again. This is more than I expected." Jareen tilted her head. "You are not a guest. You are chosen," Ethan thought. She meant he was lucky to be here. He nodded politely over the next few days. Ethan explored the nest with Jareen as his guide. She explained the food they ate, the work they did, and the customs of their people. Ethan took notes and asked many questions. Jareen answered every one. She began giving him small gifts, like dried fruits and smooth stones. One morning, Jareen led him to a high place above the nest. The wind was strong and carried the scent of flowers from the valley below. She stood close to him and placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is where mates come to speak before choosing each other," she said. Ethan looked at the view and nodded. "It is a peaceful place." Jareen stared at him for a long time. Then she said nothing and walked back to the nest. Ethan stayed for a few minutes, thinking she just wanted to show him something beautiful. At night, the nest glowed with small blue lights. The Thaleri moved in silence, their steps light and careful. Ethan sat in the main chamber, watching a dance performed by several females. They moved in circles, touching hands and singing in low voices. Jareen sat beside him very close. When he looked at her, she smiled and placed a small flower behind his ear. Ethan laughed. "Thank you, Jareen. This is very kind," she said. "It means something. You will learn." The next day, Ethan noticed something strange. Other Thaleri females avoided him when Jareen was near. One young female tried to talk to him, but when Jareen appeared, she quickly walked away. Ethan asked Jareen why. "They see the mark," she said. "What mark?" "The flower, the place, the meals. They see you are mine." Ethan froze. "What do you mean by yours?" Jareen looked at him with calm eyes. "You live in my nest. You share space. You accept food. You rest in my circle. That is the old way." Ethan felt a tight knot in his chest. This was more than he had expected. He thought he was just a guest, a scholar. He had not planned for anything like this. That night, he sent a message back to the human station in orbit. He asked for advice. The reply came quickly. "Proceed carefully. This could open important ties between our species. Be respectful. Do not insult her." Ethan sighed. He wanted to do his job, but now things felt too personal. He went to the top of the nest again, hoping for clear thoughts. Jareen joined him. "You do not sleep," she said. No, he answered. Too much to think about. She sat beside him. I have chosen before. None stayed. You stay. You listen. You look at me with warmth. Ethan turned to her. Jareen, I am here to learn. I did not know what my actions meant. In my people's way, we do not choose mates like this. Jareen nodded slowly. You did not know. Now you know. What will you do? Ethan could not answer right away. He looked at the stars and thought about the days ahead. He was deep inside another world, and he had just stepped on sacred ground without knowing it. He stood and offered her his hand. I want to understand if you will let me. Jareen looked at his hand, then took it gently. They walked back into the nest together, both silent, both thinking of the future that had just begun to change. Far above, the stars watched over them, distant and bright. The human and the Thaleri had taken their first step into something deeper than science or duty. Neither of them knew where it would end. Ethan woke early. The soft light from the walls of the nest gave a warm glow to his room. He sat up and rubbed his face. His mind was still full of thoughts from the night before. He remembered Jareen's words and her hand in his. It felt like he had crossed into something deeper, something he did not fully understand. He walked out into the main tunnel. A few Thaleri were moving about, carrying food or tools. They nodded to him in greeting. He gave a small wave in return. He passed the place where the younger Thaleri slept and reached the chamber where Jareen often spent her mornings. She was already there, sitting on a low platform, sorting small stones into patterns. Jareen looked up and smiled. You rise early. Could not sleep much, Ethan said. Still thinking, she said, then tapped the stones. Come sit, help me. Ethan sat beside her. She gave him a few smooth stones and showed him how to place them. Each color had a meaning, each pattern a story. It was not just a game, it was how they remembered their past. They worked in silence for a while. Then Jareen said, the others still do not speak to you. They wait for me. Ethan looked at her. Why does it matter to them? You are not one of us, but you live with us. If you are claimed, they must respect it. If you are not, they may approach, but only with care. Ethan sighed. And you have claimed me. Jareen placed a hand over his. Yes, I saw your spirit. I came here to study, not to bond. Then why do you stay by my side? She asked. Why do you speak gently, and why do you take the gifts I give? Ethan lowered his eyes. Because I respect you, because I did not understand. I thought I was only being polite. Jareen stood and walked to the far side of the chamber. In your world, do you not give gifts to those you wish to join with? Sometimes, Ethan said, but the meaning is different. She turned to him. Then teach me your meaning. I will teach you mine. Later that day, Jareen invited Ethan to a gathering. It was a feast day in the nest. The chamber was filled with bright colors, smells of cooked roots, and music made by hollow shells and strings. Thaleri danced in groups. Ethan stood to one side, unsure if he should join. A younger Thaleri female, Neela, walked toward him, held a bowl of fruit and smiled. You are the human. The one with Jareen. Ethan nodded. Yes, I am Ethan. She chose well, but not all agree. Before he could answer, a tall Thaleri male stepped between them. His eyes locked on Ethan. You were out of place. Ethan felt the tension. He stayed calm. I am here by the order of your leaders. I mean no harm. The male hissed low. You take. What belongs to the nest? You do not earn it. Neela stepped back. Others turned to watch. The music stopped. Jareen appeared at Ethan's side in seconds. Enough, Rollick, she said. You challenge without cause. Rollick pointed a claw at Ethan. He is not Thaleri. He cannot claim nor be claimed. Jareen stepped forward. I have claimed him. You question me? Rollick growled. I demand trial of proof. The room fell silent. Ethan looked around, confused. What does that mean? Jareen whispered. He wants a contest. He seeks to take your place. Ethan frowned. What kind of contest? Jareen did not answer. She turned to Rallick and said, "Tomorrow." At the stone circle, Rallick gave a sharp nod and walked out. The crowd slowly returned to eating, but the mood had changed. Ethan followed Jareen into a quiet hallway. "I don't want to fight anyone. This was a mistake. It is not your choice now," Jareen said. "If you leave, it will shame me. If you stay, you must stand." "I'm not a warrior. I'm a scientist." Jareen touched his face. "You're more than you think." The next day, the stone circle was filled with Thaleri. Ethan stood in the middle, wearing simple clothes, held a wooden staff that Jareen gave. Rallick stood on the other side, bare-chested and proud. The trial was not meant to kill, only to test strength, skill, and spirit. The elder called the start. Rallick came fast, swinging his long arms. Ethan dodged the first blow and raised his staff. He blocked the next hit, but stumbled back. He had trained in basic defense, but this was different. The Thaleri were strong. He remembered Jareen's words. "Stay light. Do not meet force with force. Use the moment." Rallick charged again. Ethan ducked and used the staff to trip him. The crowd gasped. Rallick got up quickly, angry now. He attacked again and again. Ethan moved carefully, never trying to win, only to stand his ground. After many minutes, the elder raised her hand. "Enough. The human stands. He holds the ground. The claim is proven." Rallick growled, but bowed. He left the circle. Ethan breathed hard and dropped the staff. Jareen walked to him and placed her hand on his chest. "You are brave," she said, "and now they see it." Ethan nodded. He was tired and sore, but something had changed. The Thaleri around him gave respectful nods. Even those who had doubted him now saw him in a new light. That night, Ethan sat alone near the edge of the nest. The stars were bright. Jareen joined him, carrying 2 cups. "Root drink," she said, "for pain and for peace." He took a cup and drank. It was bitter but warm. "Never meant to challenge your world," he said. "You did not," she replied. "You only walked into it. And if I don't feel the same, if I cannot return what you feel," Jareen looked away, "then I will still walk beside you, but with new steps." Sat in silence, the stars above them. Not just about the Thaleri, but about what it meant to be part of something bigger than himself. The days ahead would not be easy. But for now, they were still beside each other, and that was enough. The sun rose slowly over the rocky hills, and the nest was already alive with movement. Ethan woke with a sore back and bruises from the trial, but he pushed himself up and stretched. He looked around the small room, still strange, but now familiar. He felt like a guest who had become something else, though he still didn't know what exactly. He walked out into the tunnels and found Jareen waiting near the food hall. She had 2 bowls in her hands. She handed one to him without speaking. Sat side by side on a smooth stone bench. The food was warm and spicy. Ethan ate slowly, watching the Thaleri pass by. Some gave him short nods. A few smiled. The way they looked at him had changed. Jareen finally spoke. The elders were pleased. "You did not fight to harm." "That means something," Ethan nodded. "I only wanted to show respect. I didn't come here to take part in trials or ... claims." Jareen looked at him carefully. "But now you are part of us. Whether you wanted it or not." Ethan sighed.
"That's what I'm
"Afraid of. I don't want to break your customs. But I can't pretend to be something I'm not." "Then we find a new way," she said. Together. That day, Ethan sent another message to the human station in orbit. He told them everything: the trial, the claim, the misunderstanding, and the growing connection between him and Jareen. He asked for help, for someone who could explain things better. The reply came the next morning. A cultural analyst named Carla Monroe would be sent down to speak with the Thaleri. She would arrive in 2 days. Ethan felt relief. Maybe now there would be a way to explain things without hurting Zern. Until then, Ethan tried to stay busy. He helped in the gardens where the Thaleri grew food, sat with the young ones, and told them stories of Earth. They laughed when he made animal sounds and asked him to draw them. He used soft charcoal on the walls to draw birds and cats and whales. The children clapped and made their own versions with their claws. That night, Jareen brought him to a private chamber. It was quiet, with only the sound of flowing water from a small spring. "This is where leaders speak in truth," she said. "No lies, no masks." Ethan sat across from her. "Then I must tell the truth. I don't know what I feel. I know I care about you. I trust you. But I don't understand everything." Jareen nodded. "I feel the same. I feel fire, but I also feel fear. I do not know if we burn the same way." "Maybe. We don't," he said, "but maybe we can still walk side by side." She reached out and placed a hand on his. "I would like that." The next day was calm. Ethan joined a group that was building new water tunnels, carried stones, and helped shape the path. The Thaleri worked fast, using tools made from bone and metal. They didn't speak much, but they included him in their rhythm. As he worked, he noticed one of the older Thaleri watching him. Her name was Uara, and she was a wise elder. She had pale skin and long, thin arms. Later, she approached him. "You walk a strange path, human," she said. Ethan wiped sweat from his face. "Yes, I do. I never meant to. Jareen chose you." "It is not light, I know. That's why I asked for help. Someone is coming to speak with your people, to help explain my place." Yora tilted her head. "Do you fear her heart?" "I fear hurting her." Yora nodded. "Then you are already different." "Most would fear only for themselves." That evening, a sound echoed through the nest. It was a warning drum, deep and loud. Ethan looked at Jareen, who stood quickly. "Trouble." From the east tunnel? Ethan followed her and a group of fighters to the edge of the nest. A small group of wild beasts had broken through a weak wall. They were large, with sharp teeth and thick hides. The Thaleri used long poles and nets to drive them back. Ethan grabbed a pole and joined the defense. He moved beside Jareen, copying her movements. Together, they forced one of the beasts into a trap. The battle lasted nearly an hour. One of the guards was hurt, but no one was killed. The nest was safe again. Later, the fighters gathered in the main hall. Fires burned in small pits, and food was shared. Jareen placed her hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You fought well? You stayed close." "I wasn't going to run," he said. She smiled. "Now they will say you are not just claimed, you are proven." Ethan looked around the hall. He saw the nods, the small smiles, the way people moved closer. He had become more than a visitor. He was part of their story now. That night, he sat with Jareen on the high place above the nest. The stars were clear and bright. The air was cool. "Do you think your people will understand me?" she asked. "Some will. Some won't. But that's not the important part. What matters is what you and I understand. And what do we understand now?" Ethan thought for a moment. "That we're different. But not so different we can't care about each other." Jareen leaned back and looked at the sky. "Then let that be our way. Not the old path. A new one." They sat in silence for a long time. The stars above did not judge. They only watched. And as the night passed, Ethan felt something inside him shift. He had come to study. But now he was part of something much bigger than notes or science. It was part of a bond he never expected. Deep down, he knew it was only the beginning. The shuttle landed at midday. A soft cloud of dust rose into the air as it touched the ground near the outer edge of the Thaleri nest. Ethan stood beside Jareen, watching as the ramp opened. Carla Monroe stepped out, dressed in a light gray suit, her short brown hair tucked behind her ears. She carried a translator device and a bag full of data tools. Carla smiled as she approached. "Ethan Ross." He nodded. "Welcome to the Thaleri nest. This is Jareen." Jareen gave a polite bow. Carla did the same, careful and respectful. "An honor to meet you. I'm here to help." They walked together through the winding paths of the nest. Carla looked around with curious eyes, noting the patterns on the walls, the glowing lights, and the calm movement of the Thaleri. Ethan spoke softly. "Thank you for coming. Things got complicated. I read your reports, she said. We'll make this right. No offense meant, no honor lost. Jareen led them to a quiet chamber used for talks between leaders. She prepared tea made from local leaves and sat across from Carla. Ethan sat between them. We are of different worlds, Jareen began, but Ethan has walked with us. He has shown respect. He did not know our ways, but still he stayed. Carla turned on her translator and said, He has done well. But some meanings were not clear. We must speak them plainly now. For the next hour, they talked about the customs of the Thaleri and the human way of relationships. Gareen listened carefully. She asked questions. Carla answered with care and detail. When they reached the subject of claiming, Gareen sat still for a long moment. To us, she said, living beside someone, sharing food, walking the hunt together, these things mean union. But your people see them as signs of friendship only. Yes, Carla said. For us, bonding takes time. It is built slowly and not always. With the goal of becoming mates, Jareen looked at Ethan. I thought we had become one. Ethan looked down. I didn't understand. I never meant to hurt you. Jareen breathed out slowly. You did not hurt me. You made me feel something new. Helped me see outside the nest, Carla said. We do not want to erase your ways. But we hope for a bridge between us, way forward, where we both can walk. The next day, a meeting was called. Elders from other nearby nests arrived, curious about the human. They sat in a wide circle under the open sky. Ethan stood before them. With Carla and ZHRN, Carla explained everything through the translator. She showed how the misunderstanding happened. She spoke of Ethan's actions, how he helped defend the nest, how he honored the customs, even without knowing their full meaning. One elder, a tall Thaleri with deep gray skin, spoke. He stood in trial. He worked with his hands. He shared danger. These are not the ways of a stranger, another said. But if he does not return the bond, what does that mean for Jareen? Jareen stood. It means I must learn a new kind of bond. One not built on old signs, but on choice and understanding. The elders nodded, some slow, some with quiet surprise. Later, back in the nest, Jareen and Ethan walked through the tunnels. She was silent for a long time. Then she said, I had dreams of us walking together always, sharing one nest forever. Still want to walk with you? Ethan said, but not as mates. As allies, as friends. Jareen stopped and looked at him. That is a strong bond too. If it is real, it is, he said. You are the first I trust here. I want to learn more, to share. More, but only if it's honest. She gave a slow nod. Then we will build something new. Not your way, not mine. Ours. That night, the nest held a quiet ceremony. It was not a joining, not a claim, but a recognition. Ethan and Jareen stood in the center. Others formed a circle around them. They placed their hands together and spoke words of peace and respect. No fire burned. No feast followed. It was simple and quiet, but strong. Carla watched from the side and took notes. She knew this would become part of something larger, a new chapter between humans and Thaleri. The next day, Carla prepared to leave. Ethan walked. With her to the shuttle? You did well, she said. This was not easy. It still isn't, Ethan said. I think we're on the right path. Carla gave him a small communicator. You can reach me if you need help again, but I think you'll do fine. Ethan turned to see Jareen waiting near the nest wall. He waved to Carla as she stepped into the shuttle. When he reached Jareen, she said, The stars are quiet today. They're listening, Ethan said. Maybe they're waiting for the next story. She smiled. Then we must give them one worth hearing. They walked side by side, back into the heart of the nest where work waited and life moved forward. No one knew what would come next, but there was trust now. And with trust, even the deepest misunderstandings could become the start of something better. And somewhere, far above, the stars still watched, with judgment, but with hope. Weeks passed. The air around the nest began to change as the season turned cooler. The wind brought new smells and the sound of insects fading. Ethan had settled into his daily rhythm. He helped with food collection, wrote reports for the science team above, and continued his studies of the Thaleri language and customs. But what changed most was his place in the nest. No longer a stranger, he was now part of the community. He spoke with elders, taught younglings simple earth words, and even helped solve small disputes between groups in the tunnels. Jareen remained close. They no longer spoke about the bond that once confused them. Instead, they built something stronger: trust. Every evening, they met on the high ledge above the nest to share quiet moments and talk about their day. No promises were made, but each visit brought comfort. One morning, Ethan woke to strange sounds outside the nest. He dressed quickly and moved through the tunnels. Others were already gathering near the outer walls. A large dust cloud was forming in the distance. "What is it?" Ethan asked one of the guards. "Travelers," she answered, "but not ones we know." Soon the travelers arrived. They wore armor made from bone and cloth. Their colors were different, their marks unfamiliar. They came from a far-off nest that had never spoken with outsiders. Their leader, a tall female named Lethka, asked to meet Zern. In the main hall, the leaders gathered. Ethan stood to the side, watching. Lethka spoke with a sharp voice. "We hear your nest allows humans to live among you. You let them share space, food, and honor." Jareen nodded. "Yes, Ethan is one of us." Lethka frowned. "This is not the old way. Our ancestors did not bring other kinds into the nest. The old way must meet the new sky," Jareen said. "If we do not learn, we grow weak." The visitors stayed for 2 days. During that time, tension grew. Lethka's guards looked at Ethan with cold eyes. Some Thaleri from the nest avoided the visitors. Small fights nearly broke out. Jareen worked hard to keep peace. On the second night, Ethan heard voices near the outer tunnel. He followed quietly and saw 2 of Lethka's guards arguing with a young Thaleri male from Jareen's nest. "He is not one of you," one guard said. "He brings change. Change brings danger." The young Thaleri stood tall. "He stood for us. He fought for us." "You know nothing of him?" The guards pushed forward. Ethan stepped out. "Enough." The guards turned. One hissed. "You think you belong here? You are soft. You speak too gently." "Maybe," Ethan said, "but I'm not afraid of you." Jareen appeared. Then, her voice clear and strong. "Stand down. This nest will not see blood because of old pride." The guards backed away. The young Thaleri nodded to Ethan and left. The next morning, Jareen met Lethka at the center circle. "All guards broke peace." "They followed old law," Lethka said. "But we will leave. This nest is not ready for our way." Jareen stepped closer. "Or your nest is not ready for change." Lethka said nothing. Her group packed their things and left by noon. Ethan stood by Jareen as they watched the travelers disappear into the hills. "They will return," Jareen said. "Or others will. You must be ready." Ethan nodded. "What will you do?" "I'll open our gates," she said, "but with care." In the following weeks, the nest began new projects. One of them was a learning hall, where both Thaleri and humans could share ideas. Ethan helped build it with stones and wood. He set up screens to show Earth maps and pictures. Thaleri added carvings and light stones. Soon the hall filled with younglings and curious adults. Monroe returned to help organize the lessons. She brought more books, tools, and translation software. Ethan worked beside her, guiding the Thaleri through new subjects: math, earth science, music. One day, a young Thaleri female named Shayna asked Ethan, "Why do humans come so far?" Ethan smiled. "To learn, to grow, to find others who can walk beside us." She looked thoughtful. "We thought the stars were only for watching. You'd say they are for traveling?" "Both can be true," Ethan said. That night, Ethan and Jareen returned to their ledge. The stars were bright, the wind soft. "Your people will come more often now," Jareen said. "Yes," Ethan said, "but not all will be like me. Some will rush, some will not listen. Then I will teach them." Ethan looked at her. "You want to go to Earth one day?" She tilted her head. "Not yet, but maybe someday. For now, I want to make this place strong." so both our kinds can stand here as equals. They sat in silence for a while. Then Jareen asked, "Do you still miss your home?" Ethan nodded. "Sometimes, but this is my home too now." A shooting star across the sky. Jareen pointed to it. "The stars speak tonight." "What do they say?" Ethan asked. She smiled. "They say the story's not over yet." Ethan laughed. "Then we better keep writing it." As the night deepened, the two sat close, not as mates, not as strangers, but as something new, partners in a journey neither had planned but both had chosen. And across the rocks, across the tunnels, the nest kept growing. So did the story of the human who came to learn, and the Thalari who chose to listen. The new season brought bright skies and softer winds. The nest felt alive in a different way now. New faces had begun to appear, humans from other research teams, diplomats, and even a few traders. The learning hall was full each day. Young Thalari and curious humans worked side by side, drawing maps, learning languages, and sharing tools. Ethan stood near the entrance of the hall, watching a group of children learn to count using stones. One of them looked up and smiled when she saw him. Ethan waved back. This had become a part of his life. It was no longer just a mission or a study. It was something real. Jareen walked beside him. Her steps were calm, but her eyes were sharp. "We are ready for the next step?" "You mean the council meeting?" Ethan asked. She nodded. "Yes, the first one between our leaders and yours. They will meet here, in this nest." Ethan looked thoughtful. "Will they listen to each other?" "We will make sure they do." Preparations for the meeting began at once. The main chamber was cleaned and polished, arranged in careful patterns, and the walls were lit with soft, glowing moss. Jareen chose speakers from her side. Ethan helped choose those from Earth. Carla returned with a group of officials from the station above. Among them was Director Helen Brooks, a calm woman known for her fairness. On the day of the meeting, the chamber was full. Jareen stood at the front with two elders. Ethan and Carla sat beside Helen, facing the Thalari leaders. The air was still. Everyone waited. Jareen stepped forward. "We welcome you. Today we speak as two peoples, but we share one place. This nest is home to both." Helen nodded. "Thank you, Jareen. We are honored. Today we speak of peace, trade, and understanding. Not for today only, but for the future." The talks were long. Some words needed careful translation. Some ideas needed time to explain. The Thalari spoke of balance in history. The humans spoke of progress and growth. At times, the two sides did not agree. They stayed at the table. Late in the day, a pause was called. Ethan and Jareen walked outside together. "They are different," Jareen said, "but they are trying." "That's how peace begins," Ethan said. With trying, when the talks continued, something had changed. The two sides began to find common ground. The Thalari agreed to open a path for human learning stations. The humans promised to respect Thalari customs and not build without permission. By the end of the meeting, a joint agreement had been made. It was simple but powerful. One line stood out. "We walk side by side, not above or below." That night, the nest held a celebration. Fires were lit in the main hall. Food was shared and songs were sung. Human music mixed with Thalari drums. Some even danced, strange but joyful steps. Ethan sat beside Jareen, tired but full of quiet pride. "Did you ever think this would happen?" "No," she said, "but now I see it clearly. It was always possible. We just had to step forward." In the weeks that followed, the work did not stop. The joint team began to build a shared outpost between the nest and the landing zone. It would be a place for trade, talks, and learning. Ethan helped design parts of it. Jareen helped guide the workers. One day, while planting stone markers around the outpost, Jareen turned to Ethan. "When the outpost is finished, what will you do?" Ethan paused. "I'm not sure. Maybe return to the station. Maybe go home." She looked at him with steady eyes. "You have two homes now. That makes every choice harder." He nodded. "Yes, but maybe I don't need to choose right away. Maybe I can be in both." Help others find the same path. Jareen placed a hand on his arm. You would be good at that, helping others understand. 1 month later, the outpost was complete. It stood strong between the rocks, made from stone, wood, and metal. Flags from both peoples flew above it. Shared symbol was carved on the gate, a human hand and a Thaleri claw, touching without gripping. On the day it opened, people gathered. From both sides, young and old, warriors and scholars, all came to see it. Ethan and Jareen stood together at the front. Helen Brooks gave a short speech. This place is not the end of our journey. It is only the door. Let us keep walking together, Jareen added her words. We are not the same, but we do not have to be. Together, we are stronger. As the crowd clapped and cheered, Ethan looked out across the valley. He saw children playing, elders speaking, and new visitors arriving. This place, once quiet and hidden, had become something greater. Later, as the sun began to set, Ethan and Jareen returned to their high place. They sat as they always had, side by side. We started with confusion, Jareen said. And fear? And now? Ethan asked. Now we have understanding. Not perfect, but growing. Ethan smiled. That's all we can ask for. They watched as the lights from the outpost flickered below. Stars began to shine. You still think the stars speak? Ethan asked. Jareen nodded. Yes. And now they are telling a new story. One we write together. Ethan looked up. Then let's keep writing. And as night came fully, the stars watched two shapes on the hill, different, but side by side. The human. And the Thaleri, who began with a mistake and ended with a promise. Their journey was not over. It had just begun.